For our next session, I am joined by Milena Nikolic. She is Chief Technology Officer at Trainline, a European rail and coach app for route information, prices, and ticketing. Milena, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So in July, it will be about 1 year since you joined Trainline. I'll start by asking, what has been most surprising about your work in the last year?
It has been a fantastic journey. I have absolutely enjoyed the past year and really looking forward to the things we do over the next couple of years just as well. In terms of what has been surprising, I think the just how much stuff is changing for rail has been pretty exciting. It feels like a very exciting time to be in this industry as we come on the back of 2 years of less travel because of COVID. So seeing markets recover, seeing how our habits are changing post-COVID and how that affects travel, seeing enhanced awareness of sustainability and people making greener travel choices as well. So that has been fascinating, and then really just being at a dynamic and growing tech company after very many years being kind of in one of the largest tech companies. So that has also been really exciting and refreshing for me as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. You came to Trainline from Google, a company that's really known for its obsessive focus on customer experience. I'm wondering, what did you learn from that experience that is relevant to what you're doing now?
Right. So I have learned so much from my time at Google. It's a fantastic company, and I've certainly enjoyed my kind of being there for more than a decade. I have learned a lot around running stuff at scale at Google, and that means both technical systems that get a lot of traffic and kind of have to effectively handle stuff at scale in that sense. It's also about running organizationally stuff at scale, so running tech teams at scale and kind of how to approach that. In terms of customer focus, having a good balance between metric and data-driven approach, but also not being afraid to lead with intuition and to try to think what is the right thing to do for the customer, irregardless of kind of whether we can measure it and how that will show up in the metrics, kind of all that. So I think those are a couple of key highlights in terms of kind of what I bring from there.
That's interesting. It's kind of that balance of the art and the science of the experience, isn't it?
I think so. I think we have a lot of responsibility as tech industry in terms of how the products we build affect and influence people's lives. And I think so much of that has to be measured and has to be optimized for the right metrics. But equally, there is part of that sometimes is very difficult to capture in the right number. And I think just bringing that aspect as well, and making sure that we have a reasoned discussion as human beings that kind of sometimes expands the numbers. I think that's also important part of it.
So what would you say, what are some of the primary parts of the digital experience for customers that still needs to be fixed?
Within Trainline or kind of rail related stuff? Yes, that makes sense. I would say the rail industry is a very complex operation. I think it's complex in number of different aspects, from very strategic and organizational ones, all the way down to how that maps onto customer experience. So I think for these structural or kind of strategic considerations, currently there is a number of reforms that are happening in various different geographies, UK included. However, where I spend most of my time and energy is how that maps onto the customer experience. Currently, the complexity of different types of fares, of different timetables related to rail journeys, of change the different terms of conditions in terms of what can be changed in terms of different types of tickets and journeys and so on. There is just so much complexity in this space, and I think this is one of the key areas in which we have to work together as a rail industry, as a travel industry, to address this in order to drive more of the modal shift and bring more people into rail. So this is certainly something that Trainline is investing in extensively. We really feel we're doing our bit to simplify all that complexity and bring something that's very personalized, targeted, and very much optimized for the individual and their need at a given moment in time, be that their propensity to book first class travel versus premium or kind of any other class of travel, be that their preference to have a flexible tickets or to have the most price efficient option at a given moment in time. I think that's something that we're really investing a lot in and kind of trying to get better, just effectively trying to address the inherent complexity in the industry.
Because you're working with dozens of operators, correct? So talk a bit more about that. I mean, I'd imagine there's a wide range of kind of integrations and just the data sharing and all of that. I mean, what is that like for you?
For sure, it's one of the things that obviously is kind of part of the complexity, but at the same time, part of our value proposition. We pride ourselves in having the widest access to rail journeys, and that, yes, involves dozens of different train and coach companies, each one with their own different ways of structuring the fares, of offering deals, obviously different timetables, different rules related to any sort of changes to your booking, etc. A lot of our expertise goes into understanding how this works differently for each operator, for each company, understanding how those different journeys combine together. So you can go from, Paris to Milan in the most efficient way, even if that involves, different companies that kind of people usually gravitate towards when they look to book these tickets and so on. So yes, it's lots of complexity for us, very, very important, and something that we take very seriously, both the domain expertise and understanding of the space and making sure we offer people the most optimal thing for them, because we think we're very unique in this offering.
I'm curious your thoughts around what can you do to get more people to use Trainline for the booking, as well as, for the kind of as the information source and all of that. I mean, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's something where, I think customers do recognize that we bring them the value, kind of in that sense, that, in terms of getting the actual, kind of good value ticket, as well as, the kind of in terms of complexity, we try to remove as much of it as we can. So I think they do understand those aspects of our proposal pretty well. And the numbers we're seeing in terms of people who are booking with us, as opposed to just using us to check time or check timetables, is very, very good. I think we're happy with those numbers, but even more so, we're happy with how they've been changing. So specifically, we went from 39% of weekly app users in February 2020 to 47% in February 2022 who are purchasing through us as well. So that's been 27% growth in the last 2 years, and in that sense, we're quite happy to see that trend. And as I've said already, we continue to invest in both in the unrivaled value aspect of our proposal and the friction-free aspect of our proposal, and because of that, we're hoping to see this increase further.
So certainly, you touched on this initially. Sustainability is a big piece of this conversation. It's become a priority, certain for large companies. We're hearing, a lot are really putting policies in place to drive some of that, as well as just individuals saying that now it is much more of a priority for them. I'm wondering your thoughts about anything that can be done to incentivize some of that behavior to use trains more likely for some of the shorter travel trips?
Yeah. Personally, I find this one of the most meaningful parts of my job, to be perfectly honest. Like, I think it's really, Trainline's mission in that sense is, to connect people to places in greener, more sustainable ways. And I find that deeply meaningful, and just really, come to work every day very excited about making a change in that sense. It's also, and I kind of hinted towards this, it's very exciting time for that, because as we get out of the 2-year travel hiatus after COVID, I think that the habits are changing just naturally in that way. So it's really good opportunity for us to be kind of influencing more users into rail. One thing we are seeing, and I think this applies across our end users, our consumers, as well as our partner companies, or kind of big corporates or travel management companies who use Trainline, who integrate with Trainline, is that demand is there, or rather awareness for people that this is something that's a positive trend and something we should be doing more of. That definitely exists. So we don't feel we have to incentivize people into rail per se. I believe they get it, and based on everything we're seeing, everyone gets it. That said, I think we all still have to do work to make sure that choice is easy, and so easy that it can be a default. So effectively, I think we need to make sure that wherever people make decisions about the mode of transport, that rail is there equally with the car, with plane, and we kind of with other less green options. So we're spending a lot of time integrating into the various places instead of just waiting for people to come to us, and many of them do. Also, just making sure that wherever they're making their travel decisions, that we are there. And then the second thing that might be worth calling out here is that we're also working to provide carbon footprint information to the companies that we integrate with, so that they really understand what is the impact of kind of on in that aspect as well. Business travel is a little bit less price sensitive than the kind of personal travel. But now that we've all learned that we actually can work remotely, I think the price has to be justified. So that's one aspect of it. Obviously, we have to be in all the right places, and friction has to be low for rail to be easy to book, kind of as a default option. And then finally, if you really understand things holistically beyond price and friction, this impact to the planet is also something we should keep in mind. And ultimately, I think if we do all of those things, if we put rail offering in the right places, it's the right thing for the customers, it's the right thing for the companies, and ultimately it's the right thing for the planet. So we think it'll sell itself in that way.
I'm curious, and I realize obviously you're not an operator, but if you could talk to some of the operators, both from your experience with technology as well as just the fact that I'm sure you use trains, any quick thoughts that come to mind of, wow, this is what would make the experience of actually taking a train, more enjoyable or more useful maybe for a business traveler, or anything that can be done so that it does become the desired choice more likely?
Right.
Is it like around Wi-Fi? I don't know. I'm in the U.S. It's not as much of a use case for me, but anything that would make that experience of traveling by train more desirable.
More desirable. I would sort of go back to what I was talking about before about complexity, because I really worry people are put away just because the cognitive load of even understanding what you're buying, and will your ticket be available on the next train, and will you be able to get a refund or change it, or all that ends up being more of a deterrent. I would argue that train travel is so much more comfortable than any other means. Obviously I'm biased because of kind of I genuinely believe in this, and because of the job that I do. But the seats are wider, the windows are bigger. The what you can see through the window is much more interesting. It's you can actually relax and read a book, or just kind of really you don't have to drive yourself. So I think in terms of customer experience, I genuinely believe the experience is already superior. Maybe in some cases we just need to make that very much more approachable for people.
Yeah, it's that awareness piece, I guess. I know last fall, Trainline announced the integration with Google Maps and Google Pay. So can you talk, I'm assuming, that maybe based on your past experience with Google, that was expedited a bit. What kind of uptake are you seeing there? And are there other integrations or partnerships that you're pursuing?
All right. So yeah, Google Maps is a great example of, strategic partnership for us. So for us, it increases our reach, and especially on Android platform, the experience from, the planning your journey to having the ticket in your hands is now very seamless with this integration between Trainline and Google Maps. So yeah, absolutely very proud of that. The results we're seeing are very good and very encouraging. So it looks great. It's doing exactly what we hoped, which is kind of increasing our reach and kind of improving our funnel in that way. And ultimately, it sort of plays to what I was talking before around wherever travel is being considered. We want to be there. We want to make sure that rail is offered as an option. Few other, to answer your second part of your question, few other interesting partnerships that have been that we can talk about is our taxi partnership with Karoo, or generally the category of partnerships where it's not just about increasing our reach, but it's about enhancing customer experience in travel kind of end to end. So taxi partnership with Karoo means that, we have this co-branded white label website that we can deep link customers into, so they get their origin and destination already pre-filled, the dates and times of travel pre-filled, and they can very easily connect any 2 points now, and they're not just limited to the train station to A to train station B. They can actually plan journeys much more holistically. So that's fantastic and something I'm very, very excited about. Second one is hotel partnership with Booking.com, where we show at the end of the train booking, we show you hotel options for your destination. And again, we're hoping that API integration and that product integration will really streamline booking and planning travel end to end. And then finally, the one that I will mention is sort of like in a similar but also slightly different category. We had a coffee incentive with Cafe Nero. So we've trialed this for a couple of months, effectively offering a free coffee if you book another train journey with us. We integrated Cafe Nero's APIs into our customer relationship management solution, and we saw 17% increase in customer reactivation as part of this. So that was pretty exciting.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I was certainly not aware of all of those different partnerships, so there's a lot happening there. I guess I would ask, as we're preparing to wrap up, can you give us a sense of what some of your tech priorities are for the next year or two? And I'd also be curious if there's any emerging technologies, blockchain comes to mind, things such as that, anything in that realm or biometrics that really interest you?
Sure, excellent call outs. And obviously as a technologist, both of those are very, very interesting for me. So kind of personally, I'm following a lot, both what's happening in blockchain and in biometrics in particular for the healthcare related applications in diagnostics and all of that. As while wearing my role as a Trainline CTO, I think the opportunity to improve core customer experience and the scale of our platform right now, even using existing technological paradigms, are quite abundant. So kind of right now, I'm in my role as a Trainline CTO, I'm not necessarily focusing on this next generation of technologies, but it's certainly kind of interesting to follow those developments. Answering your other part of the question related to the current priorities,
Yeah.
Again, been a very exciting year, really looking forward to the next couple of years and what we get to do here at Trainline. Probably worth calling out three things as my priorities for our tech organization. First one is about enabling future scale for our technology. So right now, given our current scale, we have really good reliability, very good, latency and all the non-functional parameters. And we have been handling the growth of traffic over the past year really well, and we are ready to take on, kind of whatever comes over in the next, year or two very well. However, I'm, big believer in kind of our ability to take on even more business and to grow. So I want our platform to be ready to handle 10x scale. And that's something that we are currently investing in. The second thing that I will call out is current priority, and probably, something that is always a priority, is engineering productivity. So I really want to make, we have a team of more than 400 technologists. And I think getting the best value we can out of that team is something that's always top of mind for me. I take it as a matter of, personal engineering pride. And also I think it's just much more fulfilling as kind of if the more impact you make as an individual engineer and the more difference you make. Just investing a lot in making sure that, we can enable innovation at speed and at scale, kind of in that sense. And then the last thing I will call out is sort of maybe not technological or technical work per se, but effectively, or organizational work. So kind of growing our tech team, both in terms of numbers. So we're hiring and, we're in that sense, bringing and onboarding new people, but also just in terms of skills and our ability to operate as a team. The writing software is a team sport, and unless you get that team to be more than a sum of its parts, and people feeling that they have careers to build at Trainline, that they're growing their skills, that they're advancing and kind of really improving. It's never going to be as efficient as it could be. So definitely spending a lot of time on that organizational work as well.
Okay. Sounds like you have a lot on your plate. So
exciting times.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, Milena from Trainline, thank you so much for joining us on PhocusWire Pulse.
Thank you for inviting me. Thanks.
Bye.